In Revelation chapter 6, we've been talking about the white horse and the red horse, and the next horse is the black horse. He says, heard one of the living creatures call out, "Come and see." And I saw, behold, a black horse, and in his hand the rider had a pair of scales. And I heard what seemed like a voice from the midst of the four living creatures saying, "A quart of wheat for a whole day's wages, or a quart of barley for a whole day's wages," right? A denarius. "But do not harm the oil or the wine." Well, what you're looking at there, a whole day's wages for a quart of wheat, for a loaf of bread maybe, is hyperinflation. And you can see the whole setup to this with the Great Reset, the ships sitting off the coast, the supply chain. You're seeing the loss of jobs in the last couple of years. But don't harm the oil or the wine. Keep that petrodollar going, right? And the wine would be all the luxuries and entertainment. They call that bread and circuses in ancient Rome, right? Keep the people fed and keep them entertained. And if we've ever seen a society that's over-entertained, I don't know which one it is, because the world is becoming so saturated with entertainment. And so you see this whole progression of these four horses, where it's going, and it ends up with the green horse. And let me kind of give you a timeline understanding. This would be right before the Antichrist would come to power, right? It's the whole setup for him, and you have the white one, he's got the toxon, right? The simplest fabric, messing with the DNA. And there's the propaganda that comes with it. And then you have the Great Reset, right, of the world economy, right? They're bringing forth a one world government is what it's boiling down to. And eventually, if you don't take their mark, their chip or whatever it is, you can't buy or sell. You can't participate in the economy, right? And then, this is hyperinflation. And you just see it coming. Everyone sees it coming, and they don't want to talk about it, right? And then you come to the pale horse, and the word in the Greek, pale, is chloe, from which we get the word chlorophyll in plants. It actually means green, verdant green. Okay, it's a green horse. We ever seen a green horse? Well, I haven't either. Well, that would tell you that it's manufactured. It's a manufactured horse. It's the environmental movement, right? It's not real. The environment is not in a crisis in the world. They're selling you that because that's how they control you, through the environmental movement. And he says of this green horse, that its rider is death, and Hades followed him closely. And they were given authority and power over a fourth part of the earth, to kill with sword and with famine and with plague and with the wild beast of the earth. Well, sword, famine, plague, and wild beast would be a lot of death. And he says to kill a fourth part of the earth. Its rider is death, and Hades follows close behind. You have more plague. The white horse brought the first of the plague. It's softening us up. It's controlling us, trying to get us to think the way they want us to think about it. And he's saying, don't participate in her plagues, right? And see, sword, famine, plague, wild beast, this is population reduction. Not just population control, it's population reduction. That's what the green horse is. You know, they all go, the pale horse is riding. Well, that's what it is. And in the next verse, when he broke open the fifth seal, I saw at the foot of the altar the souls whose lives had been sacrificed for the word of God and for the testimony they had borne. All right? They died in these 4 horses plague that's coming on the earth. Right? They died in that. They're seen in heaven. They cried in a loud voice, Lord, holy and true, how long before you will sit in judgment and avenge our blood upon those who dwell on the earth? They're Christians, and they die in the 4-horse scenario. Okay? Sword, famine, pestilence, and wild beast. And God doesn't want you to die in that. He doesn't want you to be deceived like that. Remember back there in Revelation 18, by the pharmakia, all nations were seduced and deceived. Well, these people were deceived, and they're Christians. We as Christians have to wise up and see through all these plots and plans that men have for the people of the earth. And then they were given a long and flowing and festive white robe and were told to rest and wait patiently a little while longer till the number should be complete of their fellow servants and brethren who would be killed as they themselves were killed.